VINCENZO'S Go Crypto Investing, where you like, subscribe, and share for a one-of-a-kind, company-made, probability-based trading alert, technical analysis, probability-based trading alert, technical analysis, noise and news and breaking news and insight and inside information on the cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, the CELO, the Quanta, and the Doge, the fucking Doge, right? We go over all of that, but today we're going to go over the stock market and some of the noise and nonsense that's going on there with all this money printing. Come on, my good man, that's going 103 miles an hour. Go ahead and get in front of me. All the noise and money printing from communist Joe Biden that follows a long line of socialist and big government presidents that print money and debase the currency, which is a tax on its citizens. They're trying to get a $2.5 trillion tax hike on what they call the rich, which the funny thing is, when you tax the rich don't pay the taxes because it's called, yes, you all know what it's called. It's called an income tax, federal income tax. And put on your thinking caps. Yeah, that's right, old Vincenzo is using that word we haven't heard since first grade, thinking cap. Put that little thing on and think. Income tax. Yes, if you work for somebody, you generate an income, which makes you have to pay a federal income tax, right? That's who pays the most and highest taxes, is the income tax. What do the rich have? They own the business. They don't they don't generate an income. They pay themselves very little amount of money out of the business at the end of the year with the profits and income, so therefore they don't pay an income tax. They could make $100 million a year, but if they only pay themselves $100,000 a year, that's all the income they're going to be taxed on the federal income tax, right? So they don't pay a higher tax. You dumb sheep and herd animals that believe this nonsense because you don't have a brain and you're intellectually dead and a numbskull, and the charlatans know this, the fleece heisters and shysters, they know you're a sheep and you're intellectually dead. You've been systematically dumbed down, and it's worked beautifully because they do not generate an income. You do. Just like when the federal income tax was put into existence, only about 10 people at the time in the U.S. paid it. The 10 richest people in the U.S. And that's how the sheep were manipulated back then to have the upper 1/2%. They even knew that term back then. To pay the income tax, they only had to pay 1%. And the rest of the nation went along with it because they didn't have to pay it. Fast forward 100 years almost, and you dumb sheep that voted that nonsense in, because just like now, using the same rhetoric, the rich and not you are going to pay the income tax. You now pay the 35 to 40% income tax, not the 1%, only the upper 1% and the 10 people essentially in the U.S. paid, because you're sheep. Just like now, you're gonna follow. Oh, the rich are paying their fair share. The fair share, there is no such thing as paying your fair share in taxes. The fair share is everybody pays the same rate. Right? There's no such thing as is it fair that a guy that makes $1 billion, if he pays 15% tax rate and pays $600 million a year in taxes, is that fair comparison to the guy that makes $100,000 a year and puts $15,000? I think the guy that puts $600 million is paying way more than his fair share in comparison to a guy that only paid $15,000 from a guy that paid $600 million that will use none of the tax things that he's paying for. Welfare, food stamps, free college, free health insurance to non-workers, to non-U.S. citizens, to Afghan refugees, food stamps to foreigners, food stamps to border jumpers, food stamps to illegal immigrants. No, they're paying for it all and get none of the benefit, while a guy paying $12,000 a year in an income tax that wants to demand fair taxes for all, he's paying $15,000 a year in income tax, and he's taking out hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in government assistance, while the guy putting $600,000 is taking out virtually no money out of the system. So it seems to me the fairness thing is the people that are taking out more than they're putting in are the ones being unfair, and that's not the rich. Those are the poor, subservients in society that are brainwashed and dumbed down, and that's why they are in the ghetto and inner city ghettos, and now 10 cities in the cesspools of California. Go look at San Francisco. It's a disgusting wasteland, along with most other inner city, very low, dumbed down, intellectual numbskulls by the system in the pharmaceutical industry that has systematically through the 2000s paid the schools and paid healthcare workers and doctors to put kids that didn't sit still and shut up in school on ADHD medication, right? Ritalin, Adderall. Look, Adderall is an amphetamine. You gave your kids methamphetamine, and fucked them all up with pharmaceutical drugs like that. It's like 8 out of 10 people are on pharmaceutical drugs. And through the 2000s, they got little kids hooked on mind-altering drugs and ADHD medication, right? Which is an amphetamine. Look at the back of Ritalin. Look at the back of Adderall, you dumb intellectual numbskulls that have voluntarily complied to this medical takeover and the systematically dumbed down, brainwashed, and drug overdosed society. How are you going to put a 6-year-old kid on a methamphetamine? Here, take some fucking Adderall. We're going to get you hooked on meth. You fucking numbskulls. And the government, along with the Department of Education, because the federal government controls the curriculum and controls the rule of law within the schools, because they control and they created, outside of the law of the Constitution, the Department of Education. An unaccountable, non-oversight committee that reports to nobody. They report to the government itself, which is fucked. That's like having the mafia in control of the fucking crime statistics, right? Of course there's no crime. Go on, police, right? If you're the mafia. And they were paid by doctors. The school was paid to refer a student, and this is common knowledge now, but we were said to be conspiracy theorists when we were showing you the law that were written and passed and enforced 25 years ago, that a student walks into school, student misbehaves. Student gets sent to the principal's office. Principal sends students to guidance counselor. Guidance counselor says, the kid's got a learning disability, sends him to the doctor to get tested. Does he have is he got a hyperactive disorder? Is he ADHD? Is he the underact? Is whatever. They got 73 names for this learning disorders, right? And the school would get paid for the referral to the doctor to examine the kid to see if yes, does he have some kind of learning disability or some kind of ADHD? And if the doctor said yes, he would give a prescription of methamphetamine in the form of Ritalin or Adderall or one of the many other tens of hundreds of pills for that. Give it to the kid. The government pays the doctor for giving the kid the prescription while simultaneously paying the school via federal tax money for referring the kid to the doctor. So they were both paid. They were both incentivized with money to get your kid hooked on that methamphetamine, and then they wonder why the kid's all fucked up with mental disorders and schizophrenia and being a psychopath running around murdering people. They wonder, how could a kid do this? Well, you got the kid hooked on methamphetamine when he was 5 fucking years old. Are you fucking kidding me? You guys are a joke. You're a fucking joke, and you're intellectually dead, and that's why this country's fucked. Because you sidestepped and didn't listen and went right along voluntary complying to that nonsense, paying the school from the government to pay the doctor paying the school to refer the student to the doctor so the doctor could give him methamphetamine in the form of ADHD and Ritalin to get your kid hooked on drugs, mentally alter his brain, chemically alter the body, and fuck the kid up forever during a vital point of the child's life, the development stage, from very young ages of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, through around puberty, when a child is physically and chemically developing. They get the kid fucked up on drugs and amphetamines. That's what they did. I'm with the Dow Jones. We got that Vincenzo watch. Get your shit together, people in the world, not just America. America is the dumbest sheep because they're just so brainwashed and they're begging for what the rest of the world's trying to fight because they've been locked in an authoritarian government and dictatorial powers and martial law, essentially government control of everything, resources, energy, housing, money, transportation, jobs, business, food, agriculture, right? And they're trying to fight that now because it's been so oppressive and such a shithole. But American sheeple are so stupid. They're the dumbest of all the people. But you can see we've been where we just highlighted that in that beautiful blue. We're at the lower port of this rising channel, and we broke down again as we broke down out of this several times the past 8 or 9 months since the COVID Fed pump, right? And every time we bounce back in because the Fed buys, they start printing money, the computer algorithms hit the buy signal, and it buys it back up, right? And then the rest of the market starts putting money in. But you can see we broke it again with some decent volume. I would watch this to see if it gets bought back up. Usually it'll come back and retest the upper resistance, which is that yellow uptrending line. See if it retests it, and if it does, can it bounce back into this ascending channel? And if it does, then everything's on cruise control again, and the stock market will continue up with all the other stocks in there, right? If it continues to, if it comes back up and back test it and gets rejected, it's going to crash. And it's going to come down to a moving average way down there, right? It'd be about a 15% initial crash, and then a nice bounce back, and then another 30 to 35% crash, right? So it's a Vincenzo watch. If you look across the rest of the board, the NASDAQ is the same thing. It's way up there with the Fed money. You can see it's more at the upper end of the channel, just coming off of a peak. I would look for the NASDAQ now in the next weeks to come down really quick, and retest that lower support of this rising channel, just as the Dow Jones has done. And if it breaks that, you're going to look down towards the moving averages like we know, which would be, if you drew the line out, it would be right up in here with our industry exclusive perching arrows, cross arrows, right? Like a gun, bam! Right? The jabroni killer's lurking here. But this would be your first target down here at $13,084, right? And that would be with an industry exclusive measuring tool. That'd be a 10% fall from where you're at now. So that'd be a substantial fall. So pay attention to that. We're going to keep you updated. We're going to get into the Fed housing reports. Some of the data just came out. We're going to get into that today. Very exciting show. Bitcoin's not really doing anything from yesterday, what we talked about. Gave you a brief update this morning. I'm pulling in the work here, so I got to start my day. I'll update you as the coins do anything, or just give you some random updates throughout the day, along with fascinating and scintillating, insightful content at a one-of-a-kind, industry-exclusive, content-only, original here to Vincenzo's Go Crypto Investing. Like, subscribe, and share. Links above in the description and down in the comment section on how to support the channel. Peace and love. Peace and love.